From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang and here are the news. As the administration remains relentless in helping communities affected by recent incidents of oil spill, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. pays a visit in the province of Cavite to personally extend assistance to fisherfolk and their families whose livelihood have been put on halt. In a program at General Trias, the President distributes cash aid amounting to 5,000 pesos to select beneficiaries from the cities of Bacoor and Cavite and the municipalities of Kawit, Noveleta, Rosario, Tanza, Naik, Maragondon, and Ternate. He also turned over a check amounting to 161.5 million pesos to the provincial government of Cavite. The Department of Agriculture or DA, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources or BIFAR, is continuously monitoring the situation in fishing areas affected by the oil spill caused by the capsizing and sinking of motor tanker or MTKR Terra Nova near the coast of Lamao Point in Limay, Bataan on July 25th. In the days that followed, another two troubled vessels have been reported off the waters of Bataan, namely MTKR Jason Bradley and motor vessel or MV Mirola. The agency has already published in its previous bulletin that fish and other seafood products in Bataan, Bulacan, Pampanga, Batangas, and Metro Manila are declared safe for human consumption. The BIFAR, alongside various national government agencies or NGAs and partners, continues to carry out measures to assess potentially affected fishing areas surrounding the Manila Bay, as well as deliver support to affected communities. Among these NGAs are the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD, Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE, and the Department of Health or DOH. Here is Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Tayo po, magandang umaga pero ang lakas ng ulan. Pero hindi na bali. At maalala naman ninyo, nung nakaraang 6 na buwan, tayo naman ay nagdadasal, sana umulan, sana umulan. Nasagot naman yung mga dasal natin. Narito naman tayo ngayong araw kasama ang ating mga kababayang mangingisda at kani-kanilang mga pamilya dito sa Cavite upang mag-abot ng tulong na magpapasiglang muli sa inyong kabuhayan sa gitna ng sunod-sunod na insidente ng oil spill. Ayon sa datos, mahigit 25,000 pamilya mula sa probinsya ng Cavite ang naapektuhan ng mga pangyayaring ito mula sa paglubog ng 3 barko sa Bataan nitong nakaraang Hulyo. Mahigit 33,000 mangingisda ang naperwisyo ng nasabing trahedya, samantalang mahigit 250 milyong piso ang nawala sa kanilang kita. Labis man ang epekto nito sa inyong lalawigan, ako ay naniniwala na sa tulong ng bawat isa, tayo ay makakaahon mula sa pagsubok na ito. Sapagkat ang Cavite ay tahanan ng ating mga makasaysayan at magigiting na bayani, tulad ni Emilio Aguinaldo, Mariano Trias at Mariano Alvarez. Dumadaloy sa inyong mga ugat ang lahing palaban sa hamon ng buhay. Isa itong malaking bahagi ng inyong pagkakalinlan ng simbolo ng inyong panindigan. Ang Cavite ay tahanan din ng ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda na malaki ang ambag sa ating agrikultura at ekonomiya ngayon. Sa araw na ito, inaabot ko ang aking taus-pusong pasasalamat at suporta sa mga mangingisda na naririto, kasama ang inyong mga pamilya na kaagapay ninyo sa araw-araw. At ako'y nasabihan lang ako ni ating Secretary Kiko Laurel ng DA na mula ngayon ay maari ng mangisda, wala ng oil spill, pwede nang ituloy ang inyong hanap buhay. Asahan po ninyo na ang pamahalaan ay gumagawa ng mga hakbang upang malibsan ang pinsala na inidulot ng mga insidenteng kagaya nito. Hangad namin na ang presidential assistance na aming handog sa bawat apektadong mangingisda ay makakatulong sa inyong pagbangon at magbibigay ng panibagong pag-asa. Sa pangunguna ng BIFAR, makakatanggap ang ating mga mangingisda ng 18 milyong piso na halaga ng tulong, kabilang na ang post-harvest equipment, training, tulong pinansyal para sa gasolina. Ang DSWD naman ay nakapag-abot na ng halos 70 milyong pisong halaga ng ayuda para sa mga apektadong pamilya. Naglaan din kami ng 3 milyong pisong standby funds at higit 100 milyong pisong halaga ng pagkain ng non-food items. Kasangga rin ninyo ang DOLE na nagbigay ng mahigit 8 milyong piso tulong para sa mga apektadong kababayan natin sa Tansa at sa Naik. Sa ilalim ng tulong panghanap buhay sa ating Disadvantaged Displaced Workers Program, sinisikap namin na mabigyan ng trabaho ang ating mga kababayang naapektuhan at lubos na nangangailangan. Nagsasagawa naman ang DOH ng konsultasyon sa buong rehiyon. Patuloy din ang DOH sa rapid health risk assessment at water testing sa mga nasalantang lugar upang matiyak na ang mga residente na ligtas sila at maayos ang kalusugan sa kabila ng oil spill. Sa ngayon, iniimbestigahan na natin ang paglubog ng mga barko upang makakalap tayo na sapat na impormasyon na mapanagot ang mga nagsala ayon sa batas. Titiyakin din natin na makakatanggap ng karampatang kompensasyon ang mga naapektuhang mamamayan. Masaya akong ibinabalita na matagumpay na nating inapigilan ang pagtagas ng langis mula sa mga barkong ito, partikular yung Terra Nova, nang hindi na ito makapinsala sa ating kalikasan. Nasimulan na rin ang ating operasyon para sa tuluyang pag-recover ng langis mula sa nasabing barko at inaasahang matapos natin ito sa lalong madaling panahon. Ang estimate ng ating Coast Guard kasama yung mga salvor ay sa kanilang pananaw, sa kanilang pagkalkula ay 2 linggo daw yan ang tatagal yung pagsipsip nung langis doon sa barko. Naumpisa na ito mga 4 days ago, siguro mga 10 days na lang matitira. Pagkatapos ng 10 araw ay masasabi natin na isip-sip na lahat ng langis, pwede nang subukan na i-recover yung barko na yan. Palulutangin nila ulit at dadalhin nila sa ibang lugar. Kung meron pang natirang langis doon, saka doon kukunin. Kaya naging maayos naman ang ating pagsagot at pagtugon dito sa krisis na ito. At marami namang tumulong sa atin, hindi lamang ang ating Coast Guard, hindi lamang ang ating DOST, ang ating DNR, kundi rin po ang mga international na mayroong mga organisasyon po na ngayon, mga NGO, na kapag may oil spill, lalapit at tumutulong, tinuturuan tayo kung ano yung mga teknolohiya, ano yung mga gamit na para mas maganda ang ating magawa. Kaya yun po ang ginawa natin. Kaya ang una naming inaasikaso ay na maging secure yung barko. Kaya yun ang inuna. Kaya lahat ng mga tumutulo, lahat ng mga lumalabas na langis, ay linagyan natin, kinoberan po natin lahat yan. Yan ang una. Kaya tumagal bago na sip-sip. Ngayon, nagsisip-sip na tayo. Kaya ngayon, yun na nga, umabot na rin tayo sa araw na masabi natin, maari na naman na ang ating mga ngisda ay mangisda ulit. Patuloy naman ang ating pagkumpuni at pag-aayos ng manhole at air vent sa Jason Bradley na kabilang paghahanda para sa ating refloating operation. Palulutang nila ulit. Isinasagawa na rin ang seawater siphoning, yun na nga, sa barkong Mirola 1. kasabay ng pagtatakip sa mga butas ng katawan nito. Mga kababayan, kasabay ng pagbibigay namin ng tulong sa mga komunidad, asahan din po ninyo na patuloy ang inyong pamahalaan sa paghahanap ng solusyon sa mga problemang dinulot ng pangyayaring ito. Nagsisikap din kami na bigyan kayo ng panibagong lakas at pag-asa upang malampasan ang dagok na ito, matugunan ang ating pangangailangan ng nakakaraming Pilipino at mapalakas muli ang industriya ng pangingisda sa Cavite. Magiging kaagapay ninyo ang administrasyong ito sa pagpapalawak ng inyong kaalaman at kasanayan sa pangingisda at sa paghihikayat pa sa kabataan na makilahok sa pagsulong ng inyong sektor. Bukod sa bayanihang ating nasasaksihan ngayon, naway magsilbing paalala rin ang mga pangyayaring ito upang bigyan natin ng angkop na atensyon ang ating kapaligiran at mga likas na yaman. Sama-sama natin pagtatagumpayan ang mga hamon ng buhay at bigyan ng katuparan ang ating mga pangarap sapagkat walang maiiwan at walang mahuhuli sa bagong Pilipinas.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday led the oath-taking of the newly elected officers of the National Press Club of the Philippines or NPC, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas or KBP, Malacañang Press Corps or MPC, Malacañang Cameramen Association or MCA, and Presidential Photojournalists Association or PPA. In his speech, the president urged journalists to remain at the forefront of the fight against fake news and continue adhering to the most ethical and professional standards of journalism. During the oath-taking of newly elected officers of various media groups at the Malacañang Palace, the president asked journalists to help the government see and address the weaknesses of its system and continue to uphold the nation's best interests so that the country can continue to flourish. The chief executive also asked journalists to help the government see and address the weaknesses of its system and continue to uphold the nation's best interests so that the country can continue to flourish. President Marcos acknowledged the critical role of the media in the grand task of nation building, especially in helping the public make informed decisions. The president said that with the rise of social media, it has become harder and harder for ordinary citizens to discern what is fake news and what is real news, what is propaganda, what is pure objective information. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the event.
Bago ako sa kanya, nakabarong kayo. It's not our normal, but never mind. This is an important occasion. So, first of all, of course, the newly elected officials and officers of the National Press Club, the kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas, of course, Malacañang Press Corps, the Malacañang Cameramen Association, and the Presidential Photojournalists Association. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We witnessed today the oath-taking of the newly elected officers of our esteemed media groups, reaffirming our commitment to the principles and ideals of responsible journalism, one of the foundations of any democracy. I congratulate the newly elected officers of the NPC of the Philippines, the kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas, the Malacañang Press Corps, the Malacañang Cameramen Association, and the Presidential Photojournalists Association, as you embrace the task of news reporting. Your courage and passion in championing freedom of speech and expression in our communities echo the aspirations of our people. In an age when information drives the progress of our society, your dedication to lending expertise to help speak the truth on matters of national importance and promote objectivity in the face of conflicting news is invaluable. I ask that you continue to adhere to the utmost ethical and professional standards of journalism, free from sensationalism, bias, and personal motives. Help us see and address the weaknesses of our system. Continue to uphold our nation's best interests so that our country can continue to flourish. I trust that you will also make the most of your platforms by amplifying the voices of the marginalized so that they too can take part in the building of our nation. Your persistent efforts have aided us in shaping a more enlightened and empowered citizenry, one that is more capable of joining our pursuit of a stronger bagong Pilipinas. So as you fulfill your mandate, I urge you to remain at the forefront of our efforts in helping our people distinguish truth from misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. A most important issue as we are facing all kinds of information, and it has become harder and harder, especially the proliferation of social media. It has become harder and harder for the ordinary citizen who does not follow necessarily closely the events that are being reported upon, and therefore it's difficult for them to discern what is fake news, what is real news, what is propaganda, what is pure objective information. Whereas before, journalists, especially, let's start with print journalists. Print journalists would not print anything until they have verified, validated with more than one source, never just one single source, always a second, a third, as many as possible, before printing any information, anything in print. On television and when Trimedia came into play, that's the same thing. Because if a radio commentator or a television commentator says something that is patently false, they will be taken to task for it. And people can check and people can verify. And so that is how we develop trusted journalists. And they say, when this journalist speaks, totoo yan. Kasi hindi nagsasalita yan kung hindi pinag-research na mabuti, kung hindi pinag-isipan, kung hindi nakakaunawa na mabuti dun sa issue na kanyang pinag-uusapan. Ngayon, kahit sino pwedeng mag-post ng kahit na ano under an assumed name. It is for an ordinary person who is too busy with their own lives, trying to make a living, trying to feed their families. They do not have time to go back and look at the documents and research and say, this guy is true, this guy is not true. And so that is where our problem now lies. And it is a very, very difficult one. We have just read the news about the CEO of Telegram being arrested in France. And this brings us again to how do we balance this new technology of social media with the responsibilities of the fourth estate and the responsibilities that we do not allow to proliferate harmful posts, harmful information, false and fake information. And that is, we are battling with this at all times. However, and I remember an interview with a New York Times reporter who was working in the Middle East. And he was asked, he said, what is the relevance of newspapers now? Nobody reads newspapers. They go to the internet. Even if they read your newspapers, it's on a computer. But there have many other sources now. And I remember very well his answer. He says, I have lived here in the Middle East and have reported in the Middle East for the last 25 years. I know the personalities. They know me. I know the evolution of the situation here. And whenever I'm given a press release, I look into it. And I ask many other sources and say, is this true? Is this correct? Is this the right interpretation? Before I write it down in the paper. And he said, the reason that you still need to read the paper is that we are experts at what we do. And we have been honing that expertise over many, many years. With social media, I will use his precise words, any pimply-faced 16-year-old sitting in his basement can write a post. And you have no way to verify if it is indeed somebody who has some knowledge, some background on what they are doing, on what they are writing about. And that is where you come in. That is where the reliable journalists come in. So that we know, as the reading public, the watching public, so that we can know that these are the people that we can trust, because everything that they say is verified. Sometimes it's nothing. Nobody's 100% right, but they do their very, very best to get it right, and that I think is where we stand right now. I'm not saying that there are any magic bullets or easy solutions to this, but we must continue to try to provide our public we must continue to provide our public with the proper information, because this affects their lives, this affects the decisions that they make in their lives. And we have seen how fake news has become. I think it was most prevalent during COVID, when you did not know what anybody was talking about. And people were saying, I remember reading this, that, what you should be doing is doing this, that, and the other thing. And then you would look, who is writing this? I would always look, who is this person writing this? What are their qualifications to write this? And you would get pathologists. The pathologists don't have to worry about infectious diseases. If they make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Their patients are already dead. You have these commentators who have no medical training. Well, all of this kind of thing, and that is where that has evolved. It has become even worse since COVID. So it is, but the technology exists, and that is why we have to be very, very careful and to be very, very clear what the mission of journalists are, what the true mission of the Fourth Estate is, that to provide clear information and intelligent and cogent and profound analysis, not just some off-the-cuff, advice that I don't know, that they just thought up while they were drinking with their friends. So these are the issues that we are facing. They are not interested. These people that post fake news are not interested in providing news. They're interested in getting followers, because more followers, more money. So you see all the ridiculous situations there where kung ano-ano ginagawa basta't may manunood. The worst part is that some of these crazy people, even those who do not disagree with them, follow them, because they are interested in saying, what's this crazy guy saying now? So nadadagdagan pa rin. So they continue becoming crazy because they have more followers that way. And sobriety and common sense and real and true information therefore becomes even more important than I think it has ever become in our entire history. The mass, the volume of information is so much because of our technological advances. It is so much that we must play a part in trying to help ordinary readers, citizens, to discern what is news, what is propaganda, and what is just outright fakery. And that's where we stand. Trust this administration will always remain committed to making the country safe for journalists and media practitioners, so you can you can exercise your profession. We have made strides in holding accountable those who have committed violence on our media personnel and practitioners. We have filed cases against suspects. Our law enforcement agencies continue to work hard to bring other perpetrators to justice. There is no place for violence against the media in Bagong Pilipinas. And so I invite everyone here today to continue strengthening this partnership between the media and the government. It is critical. It is critical. We need media to be there. Government would not function as well as it does without the media. Because if unfettered, government can go in any direction, and we need once in a while a watchdog to say, look, you're going too far this way. You've made a mistake here, and it makes us think, make us re-examine what we have done, and perhaps take into account what has been said by our media practitioners. I always say when there are reports and there are people who are critical of my administration, and people say, "Why do you listen to that? They just put you in a bad mood." And I said, they might be right. There's a chance that despite being critical of you, maybe one guy's right. So listen to everything. Don't shoot the messenger. If they really believe what they're saying, then think about it. Baka naman tama siya. And that's why we need you. We need the media. Well, I always consider you partners in government, and that check and balance that you provide is very important. And so that is an important role to play to secure a vibrant democracy where discussions are being held at every level on every subject. So with your cooperation, we can bring about the bagong Pilipinas that we envision for ourselves and for our children. Let us continue working together to achieve this goal. Once again, congratulations to all the new officers. Mabuhay ang ating mga mamahayag. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas. Maraming salamat sa inyo lahat.
We just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday said the public should expect continued public service and more from programs and projects from the administration to improve the quality of life of Filipinos. This is the statement of the president following the latest result from an Octa research survey, wherein his trust ratings went up to 71% this second quarter of 2024 from the 69% rating during the first quarter. The chief executive satisfaction rating also increased from 65% during the first quarter to 68%. In an interview with the media, President Marcos said this is because the public sees what the government is doing and they are feeling the effects. These figures, the president added, serves as an inspiration to the government to continue, if not surpass, what they are currently doing now in order to uplift the lives of the Filipino people.
Well, maybe may kasama na yun, but I think it's because it's a trust rating, it is more na yun na nga nakikita naman that we are really doing our best to try to alleviate the hardships na dinadaanan ng mga tao. So it's good to have that kind of result or statistic behind you. They just, again, every time this happens, for us, as far as I'm concerned, is that it seems to be people beginning to understand what we're trying to do. They're beginning to feel the effects of it. And so you must continue to do more and even try to do even better. So that's always an inspiration for me.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday said he has a very good idea as to who helped Mayor Alice Guo get out of the country following the complaints and allegations of the involvement of the dismissed Bamban mayor with the illegal operations of Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs in the country. In an interview, the president said he already discussed this with the Department of Justice or DOJ, Secretary Jesus Remulla, and they are about to finish their investigation. and will soon come out with a list of individuals who will be held responsible. The chief executive said they are just figuring out as to how many are involved and how deep their collaboration is. To recall, President Marcos earlier said that those behind the departure of Guo from the country will be held accountable.
Oh yes, definitely. So DOJ, I was just with the secretary earlier today. Is almost finished with a very thorough investigation, and we will identify all of those who have, all of those who are involved in this, and we will act very quickly. Well, that's not that's what the last part of this is. How far, how deep does it go? Isa lang bang tao ang involved? O marami sila? O sindikato ito? That's what we are looking at now. There are no sacred cows.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday met with the United States Indo-Pacific Command or US Indo-PACOM Commander Admiral Samuel Paparo at Malacañang Palace in Manila, where they discussed defense and security issues. During the meeting, the President expressed optimism that the Philippines' relations with US Indo-PACOM would improve under Paparo's leadership. The chief executive also thanked Paparo for finding time to visit the Philippines and tour some Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA site to see the true situation on the ground. President Marcos and Paparo's meeting focused on the Philippines and U.S. commitment to strengthening their defense and security partnership. Communications Secretary Cheloy Garifil said in a statement, Paparo is scheduled to visit an EDCA site and attend the annual meeting of the Mutual Defense Board and Security Engagement Board in Baguio City on Thursday. Paparo assumed command of the U.S. Indo-PACOM on May 3rd. U.S. Indo-PACOM, established as a unified command on January 1, 1947, is one of 6 geographic unified combatant commands of the U.S. Armed Forces and the oldest and largest of the American unified commands. With allies and partners, U.S. Indo-PACOM is committed to enhancing stability in the Asia-Pacific region by promoting security cooperation, encouraging peaceful development, responding to contingencies, and deterring aggression.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP presented on Tuesday to Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. 7,500 pesos gold and 750 pesos silver commemorative coins of the central bank. The presentation coincides with the 75th anniversary of central banking in the country. The coins feature the obverse side of the gold and silver non-circulation legal tender coins, the Intendencia or the Aduana building in Intramuros, Manila. Intendencia is the first building that served as the primary office of the BSP. On the other side, the coins show the mark of the year 1949 and the color of the 75th year anniversary. The mirror-like coins was made using the latest technology in digital printing. The central bank will soon announce through social media channels as to when the commemorative coins will be available and can be sold through the BSP store.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. presided over a sectoral meeting to discuss updates on the Philippine Coconut Industry Development Plan or PCIDP at the State Dining Room in Malacañang Palace. During the meeting, the President approved the additional funding for the massive coconut planting, replanting, and fertilization program of the Philippine Coconut Authority or PCA for 2025. According to the Presidential Communications Office or PCO, the additional funds would be used to implement the Philippine Coconut Industry Development Plan or PCIDP 2024 to 2034. The PCO said the PCIDP 2024 to 2034 is a response to President Marcos Jr.'s directive to the PCA in October 2023, instructing them to create a detailed plan for the development of the country's coconut industry. The chief executive has expressed his intention to make the Philippines the world's #1 coconut exporter, seeing it as a great opportunity for the country's continued economic growth. The PCA is looking to plant 100 million coconut trees by 2028.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday denied allegations of abuses in the police operations to serve arrest warrants for accused sex offender and human trafficker Apollo Kibuloy and his accomplice, saying his detractors are only politicizing the issue. In a media interview in Malacañang, Marcos defended the number of police officers deployed in the 30-hectare property of Kibuloy's Kingdom of Jesus Christ or KOJC compound in Davao City. The president also said the police officers deployed at KOJC compound are unarmed. Some 2,000 police officers swooped down at the KOJC compound on Saturday, which is also home to some of his followers, with the hope of finally apprehending the fugitive religious leader. The authorities are serving the warrant of arrest against Kibuloy and 5 other KOJC members for charges of child abuse and human trafficking. The Philippine National Police or PNP believes Kibuloy is still holed up inside a KOJC compound. Marcos in the same interview also took a swipe at Kibuloy for dragging his followers on the issue. A Mindanao prelate also joined calls for Kibuloy to surrender and faced the allegations against him in court. Ozamis Archbishop Martin Humoad, in an interview with church-run Radio Veritas Tuesday, said Kibuloy's surrender would put an end to the standoff between the police and his followers, which started over the weekend.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has committed to strengthening the bilateral ties between the Philippines and Cambodia. Marcos met with the Cambodian Deputy Prime Minister Sokchenda Sophaea at the Malacañang Palace on Tuesday, where he emphasized the importance of a continued cooperation with Cambodia and other member states of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN. The president noted that the Philippines has been keen on undertaking partnerships and cooperation extending to other allied states across the globe. The Philippines and Cambodia have maintained cordial ties since the resumption of diplomatic relations in 1995. Sok is in the country to co-chair the 4th meeting of the Cambodia-Philippines Joint Commission for Bilateral Cooperation, or JCBC, in the Philippines at the invitation of Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo. The 2-day meeting aims to assess the progress in implementing the agreements reached by the two countries during the 3rd meeting of the Cambodia-Philippines JCBC in December 2021. This is the first bilateral visit of the Cambodian official to an ASEAN country as the head of delegation and as Cambodian foreign minister since 2017.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines and Cambodian governments on Tuesday agreed to further enhance bilateral cooperation, especially on ways to improve the states' two-way trade and tourism. The affirmation was made during the visit of Cambodian Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Chenda Sophaea to Manila to co-chair the 4th Philippines-Cambodia Joint Commission for Bilateral Cooperation or JCBC. The two ministers agreed to strengthen ties on defense and security, combating transnational crime, culture, and sports, while deepening engagements on health, environment, and energy. In addition, Manalo and Sophaea exchanged views on pressing regional and international issues, such as the situation in the South China Sea, Myanmar, and Gaza. Both ministers reaffirmed their commitment to advancing promotion of peace and stability in the region. According to the DFA, the two states are expected to sign an agreement on the avoidance of double taxation this year. The Southeast Asian neighbors are expediting the conclusion of agreements on agriculture, labor, technical and vocational education, and the prevention of looting and illicit trafficking of cultural artifacts. This is the first visit of Sophaea to the Philippines and his first official bilateral visit to another ASEAN member state. Prior to the discussions between the ministers, DFA Undersecretary for Bilateral Relations and ASEAN Affairs, Maria Teresa Lazaro, co-chaired a senior officials meeting of the JCBC with Secretary of State Ung Rechana of the Cambodian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The JCBC was established in August 2000 as a formal mechanism between the Philippines and Cambodia to discuss bilateral areas of cooperation and was last held in December of year 2021.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.